host on StreamYard, but in terms of leading the conversation, I believe it is Rick.
Rick has to unmute himself so we can hear him.
The Mandalorian is back. Season 3, Episode 1 dropped today. I'm Rick Shue, friends from work. It's just Courtney Cheek, Bryan Chatlin, and myself. Let's chat a little Star Wars, shall we?
Love it.
Everybody come on, let's get down. Get down.
Down. Music by Freekbass at Freekbass, Freekbass. What's up, guys? Mandalorian is back. Everybody excited to talk about it?
Oh, yeah. Bring it on.
I'm stoked. Courtney, you there with us? Hello, Courtney.
He's here somewhere.
She's on mute, it looks like. So if you're tuning in for the first time, this is all-encompassing pop culture podcast. Weekly, We're going to be on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, that's awesome. If you're listening to us on podcast, thank you. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on iTunes or wherever you download great podcasts. I'm still trying to get Google Play. Bryan, I can't get us on Google Play. It's killing me.
Yeah, but we're everywhere else, and that's fantastic. You've been doing a lot of work on that.
Well, we've all put in a lot of work in this. We just appreciate everybody's support. Courtney, are you with us?
Can you hear me? I unmuted.
Wow.
It's taking a minute.
There she is.
She's
Oh,
there. And
finally.
if you're watching this on YouTube, isn't it crazy that an actress is hiding from the camera? A very talented actress.
You know what?
Well,
Look. There's a
you gotta
such
talk
thing
to
as
her
being
agent.
camera ready. And yeah, exactly. You didn't pay my daily fee yet. So, you know, it's not there.
Wow. On that note.
Well played.
That is good.
That's how that's done.
All right, guys. Welcome to Friends from Work Let's Chat
God.
podcast. So, Courtney, speaking of Courtney, the aforementioned Courtney, her and her fiance had a great idea that at the beginning of our shows, we're going to start feeding you guys the top 5 pop culture things of the week. And we're going to start with it today. So, Courtney, I'm going to hand it over to you before we start talking about the Mandalorian. What's up in pop culture?
Yeah, so we've got a few things that we'll just kind of high level talk about today. The first one, which I'm personally very excited about, is the new Haunted Mansion trailer that dropped today. It's going to be in theaters. It has an incredibly stacked cast, and it just looks like a super fun, new, fresh take on the classic ride and then the previous movie that was starring Eddie Murphy. It looks so fun. It looks like it'll be a little bit more on the horror side. Looks like it's going to be a little bit darker than the previous version of the movie, which will be really interesting. But it does have a lot of the staples of the ride, at least in the trailer, which will be really fun. Have you guys been on the ride at Disney World or Land, and have you seen the previous movie?
It's been a long time.
It's been a hot minute, yeah. But it sounds very interesting.
When is that supposed to come
I just want to. I believe it's this fall. I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head. I should know that, but I don't. But I believe it's this fall. Yeah, it'll be right around Halloween.
Very cool.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so that'll be really exciting.
Nice.
Exciting. I'm excited about that.
Do you know anything about the cast or who's in it or who's directing or anything along those lines?
So cast is including Jamie Lee Curtis. It also includes, let me get back to my note here.
Jamie Lee Curtis is having one hell of a career in this
resurgence.
Oh, yeah. It's so amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I've been a fan of her since Trading Places.
Yeah.
And Halloween, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, she was in Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. She was the prostitute with a heart of gold.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So cast based on billing order from IMDb is Jamie Lee Curtis, Owen Wilson, Rosie Dawson. I butcher her name every time. Jared Leto, Winona Ryder, Danny DeVito, Dan Levy, Tiffany Haddish, Hassan Minaj, Kurt Yu. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I mean, it's a huge cast, and it's going to be super fun.
There's
Batman
a little boy
in
there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the little boy who is in the trailer, at least, is so freaking adorable. So he's going to have, a whole launch of his career, I'm sure, if it hasn't happened already. It looks fabulous. I think it's going to be a really fun addition to that franchise. It is directed by Justin Simon. I don't know how you say his last name. He's been known for Dear White People, The Heat, etc. So yeah, it'll be good. It'll be a fun addition there.
Nice. That's number 1. Very cool.
Yeah. Number 2. Does anybody
2.
watch Succession?
No.
Succession, anyone?
No.
I'm thumbs downing me for not watching it, not the show.
Guys.
I'm thumbs downing because I don't have a snack. I want a snack.
Oh God. Okay. Well, the final season of Succession. The trailer came out today. So that is going to be the final season, which is I have mixed feelings of it. I think it's a very well done show. The cast is incredible, but I'm curious to see what they do with it. The last 2 seasons, a lot of the complaints that I've heard amongst my friends and peers is it's kind of been the same recycled storyline over and over again. So I'm curious to see what they do with it and if it even comes to a resolution. As we know, HBO has been known to not always have those resolutions in some of their shows. So I'm curious to see what happens, but that trailer did drop today, which is very exciting for those of us who do watch it. Are you going to watch it now? Are you going to go through and binge all of it?
Yes. Now we're going to watch the session.
We're going to binge
watch it.
Can you do a 10-second elevator pitch on like why I need to watch it?
Yeah. It's the Murdoch family on HBO.
Oh.
All right. There you go.
Oh, okay.
All right.
That works.
All right. Succession trailer, Haunted Mansion trailer. What else we have?
Love it.
Number 3.
Okay. Number 3. The SAG Awards. Did you guys watch any part of the SAG Awards that happened on Sunday?
No, I did not. I never watch award shows. I just never. Ever since in the Oscar when they gave what's his name, Gladiator, Beautiful Mind, Australian actor. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
Yep. What's his name?
Gotcha. It's okay.
Whatever. That guy. And then Denzel Washington, and they gave him the Oscar for the wrong movie. He should have gotten it from Beautiful Mind. Instead, Denzel Washington got it for Training Day. And then it was like they gave it to him for Gladiator when that year Denzel Washington should have gotten it for The Hurricane. So I've been pissed off at award shows ever since then. But that's me.
Okay.
So I did not. Right. But I am interested to hear. I'm just giving you my little.
I've seen a bunch of the clips that have been put up about some of the speeches, especially from the cast of Everything Everywhere All at Once. And it is amazing. What do you got?
Well, didn't Brendan Fraser have a really beautiful?
So
okay, that I'd like to see.
Yes,
he also had a wonderful speech. Yes, I mean, like every time I see anything, it's like I'm borderline tears because so much of the speeches this year were like speaking to actors who are, like us and like are in the wings and like doing the work, but necessarily haven't been fully recognized. So I think there was a lot of that I feel really spoke to me directly. And I'm sure, like Brian said, the ones he'd seen spoke to him as well. And I think it just goes to show that, think about Jennifer Coolidge, Jamie Lee Curtis, like both of them won for their respective categories. It's just interesting to see that there's been a little bit of a shift, I think, in the way the business is treating, I don't want to say like, not necessarily like older, but like people who maybe haven't been recognized before for their talent and their contributions. And I think there's been a little bit of a change of the winds. And I really appreciate and I look forward to see what happens. But my biggest note that I made about the SAG Awards, there's a clip with Jenna Ortega and Aubrey Plaza. If you haven't seen it, it's hilarious, especially if you watched Wednesday and season 2 of White Lotus. It's freaking funny. You know what I'm talking about, Brian? Yep. So
I'm
funny.
all over that. I loved Wednesday, and Ortega's amazing.
Oh yes, they're both fabulous. So that was a fun little nod to each of their characters that they've played, which is fun. But Everything Everywhere All at Once, like the joke kind of that I've seen on social media is like they just swept it, like bring out the brooms. Like almost all of them won in all of the categories they were nominated, which just speaks to the talent that is in that cast. So if you haven't watched it, this is your 20 millionth, flag to go see it and go watch it.
Yes.
Nice. All right. Number 4.
Number 4. So this one is gonna this is gonna get a little bit into the Mandalorian. For those of you who do not know, Dallas Bryce Howard is a director in a lot of the newer Star Wars universe content that's been coming out over the past couple of years. Her father is a very well-known and successful decorated director and producer, Ron Howard, and their birthdays are all within I think it's within a day of each other, which is really fun. So on social media, they both shared some really cute throwback photos of the two of them, of him reading to her, and just it was really, really sweet. But it's just kind of cool that that's been kept in the family. And since we're talking about the Mandalorian, I thought it was a really appropriate nod since Dallas Bryce Howard is on the directing team for the Mandalorian, which is really fun.
And her father, I mean, among a million things, and plus he's Opie Cunningham, as Eddie Murphy used to refer to him in Saturday Night Live in the early 80s. He directed Solo, Star Wars story. So there you go. All right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then the last one I have, which I'm sure both of you guys will appreciate. One of the things that Jamie Lee Curtis there was some things going on at the parties and whatnot. Tom Cruise was there. Obviously, he has been nominated through award season for Top Gun Maverick. There is a lot of chatter about how Tom Cruise has saved cinema and saved the movies. And I'd really like to get y'all's thoughts on that. I think there's a lot of different opinions out there, but I think it's a good hot take, especially as we move into awards season. But do you think he saved the movies?
Define saved and what needed saving.
If I could say this, because I know that Steven Spielberg said that to him. And here's the deal, that he was pressured to release Top Gun Maverick on streaming. And he said no. And he sat on it for 2 years. And by doing so, he brought people back to the theater. Now, if you think about it, in the last couple of years in the COVID world from March 2020 on, the only real big juggernaut, unless I'm missing something, was Spider-Man, which was kind of an anomaly, right? As far as a multi-billion dollar, or maybe not multi-billion, but billion. And then obviously Avatar came along as well. But I think part of what he was saying is that Tom Cruise sacrificed so much of that film because that's a very risky thing, because things can get anticlimactic really quickly and things can change, and references in the film can now be old because it's in real time and all those things. And he held on. And by doing so, it was a testimony to how important cinema is. How important it is for people to get their butts in the seats and go and enjoy this beautiful, amazing American pastime. And without him doing that, to send that message, it may have been the beginning of an end to what we know as current movie-going cinema. And I think there's probably a lot to be said for that. Now, granted, it's a film with a lot of aerial.
Yeah, big moving things.
Right.
The big screen. But the fact that he held on was this war cry that, no, darn it, we're still a movie going culture, and I'm sticking to that. And that's pretty cool. So, Courtney, would you agree with that assessment? I mean, I'm kind of just pulling this out of the air, but that's kind of what I'm thinking is probably in Spielberg's mind when he said that. Or Brian, anybody?
I can't actually hear. Yeah, so this is something I hadn't even thought about. That's a valid point, is that there was a trend going on, and it is honestly far more convenient to stay home and watch movies.
Yeah, the quote that I was referencing was actually Jamie Lee Curtis. So
Oh, I'm sorry that you did. You said that. I'm sorry. So what did she say again? What's her quote? Because I know that Spielberg.
Yeah, it's not the same experience.
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah, she said the same thing, that cinema. We're all over.
We've got a delay going on. Okay.
Place, but it's all good. But Brian, I agree with you. I think it is more convenient, but it changes the experience. Everything else that comes with it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it may be something to say real fast to our audience. I don't even want to.
And then the last thing I will mention, just kind of as an honorable mention, I won't get into the.
We've got a 5 to 10 second delay going on.
Courtney, we've lost you completely.
Okay.
I'm here. I stopped talking because I thought you were
okay.
Yeah. So here's if everybody's listening. So Courtney and Bryan are in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
And it's March 2nd, and they are under a major tornado watch.
Yes, there's some crazy storms blowing through right now. So.
Yeah, there's some crazy storms, and so there's some technical issues here. So just bear with us. but they're safe, and we're gonna get through the show. But that's what's kind of going on here in our little world and our multi-million-dollar studios. But Courtney, if you can hear me, so basically, Jamie Lee Curtis said the same thing as Spielberg in essence, right? That
Yes,
because
correct. Yeah.
Well, see, and here's the deal, like. And again, I'm not even going to edit that out because the fact that you guys are real time under tornado watch, that's something that's unique. I mean, and you guys please be safe. I'm in Houston, and we don't really have it down here, not to the extent that you guys do up there. But no, that's amazing. And listen, Tom Cruise, I mean, is the last real true movie star, I think, and so. God bless him, right?
And that's a statement I've heard from Spielberg also. So, Courtney, was that the question that you were asking, or is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I was just talking about or questioning. Do you guys agree with that statement? Because now that's second time it's been in the headlines relatively recently, but I think it's an ongoing theme for sure.
Yeah, I think that with my, the response I gave in terms of where I was just kind of guessing Spielberg's headspace was. I would say that I agree with that. The message that Tom Cruise sent that, damn it, we are a cinema movie going. That's part of the fabric of America. It's whether or not he saved it, he certainly helped it. That's my opinion. What about you, Bryan?
Agreed.
Well, the experience of getting back to the theaters, I'm trying to think because I did go see Maverick. I don't know that was the big push to get back to the theaters. I think I was eager to get back anyways. But Tom Cruise, when I heard the quote from Spielberg saying that he's the last true movie star, it's interesting to pause for a second and go, okay, well, what does he mean by movie star? What does he mean by true last? What is this? And it's really interesting to look at someone's career and realize that literally all Tom Cruise does are blockbusters. They're all spectacles. They're all big. They are definitely popcorn movies. Yeah. They're definitely movies that you want to go to the theater to see. And he keeps raising the bar. He doesn't just go and play the same. He plays very similar roles, but he raises the bar in every single one of them. And he's been doing it for the last 30 plus years.
I don't think the man has a stunt double.
No, he
doesn't.
I'm sure he's got a stunt double, but he insists on doing them himself. Like, I'm sure they always put one in there just to do it. But the fact that he's borderline Jackie Chan level of like breaking an ankle in the middle of a scene, but making sure he continues to run off camera. Dude, it's been spectacular. I would love to have any kind of a career like that. It's amazing. Well done, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
I would love to be able to just work with him on anything at any given point ever. Like that would be such a huge accomplishment in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think, I was talking about this with a friend, this same topic about like movie stars and how they're quasi disappearing. And I think a lot of that is due to the loss of mystique around people that are actors. Now we have social media, there's YouTube, we're everywhere. So like, we're no longer unattainable. So like being a movie star used to be this, huge glamorous thing, but a lot of that mystique has gone away with the advent of social media. So like, I think of like Scarlett Johansson, I see her as a movie star. She's not on social media. The only time you see her is when she wants you to see her. And that's I think a lot of that mindset.
So it's curated.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of it. I don't know.
No, that is interesting. Well, look, this was cool. Our first top things in pop culture. Now, do you know how to get rid of that banner? I don't know how to do it.
Do you?
Mandalorian is back. So you just gave us a visual segue. For everyone not watching on YouTube, I mean, you just missed out on a visual segue. That is great. Well, thank you, Courtney. That's awesome. Thanks for
that we're guilt tripping you for listening to the podcast version.
That's right. No, we're not. We love you listening to the podcast version. We appreciate it. All right. So that's our top 5 pop culture things of the week. We'll have a little jingle. We'll fine tune that a little bit, but that's fun. You can come to us for all sorts of things. See, we're a resource. We're a resource. Okay, guys, the Mandalorian is back.
Episode 1, the prostate.
The prostate.
We were doing so well. We were so family friendly until that point.
Apostate. Apostate. Yes, and it's appropriate for this episode. I tell you guys, I want to dive into some specific questions, but let me just get the general first reaction off this. Courtney, did you like this episode, just generally speaking?
I did like the episode. I think it's a little hard to follow with like where last season ended and then also we're caught up on Bad Batch, and there's a really good arc in the most recent episodes of Bad Batch, which is really great and intense. So I was a little underwhelmed, but it was the first episode back. So I think it was a fair expectation that it wasn't going to be like a gangbusters right out of the gate. Brian, what do you think?
I liked it. It started off really well. They need some sort of an indicator of how many years has passed, because apparently a number have passed. This is not immediately following Boba Fett. This is way on down the way.
Well, even if you watch when Grogu gets.
By the way, spoilers. Are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, this is spoilers. By the way,
throw that out there.
Spoilers.
Okay.
If you haven't watched it and you don't want to be spoiled, turn off now.
Drop a like. Come back later.
But even when Grogu gets his candy, you can kind of see where he's a lot more Jedi-esque and how he does that so seamlessly. But to Courtney's larger point, I actually had a list of questions here for us to sort of dive into. And one of them was, does the reunion confuse audience between Mandalorian and Grogu, obviously? And I'm curious of why they didn't show some of the footage from Boba Fett in the recap at the beginning, at least. I mean, they're all intertwined anyway. Because if you watch just the recap, it shows the droid sacrifice that ends up being a subplot in the show, which was cool. Yeah. That was cool, but it doesn't show anything about Luke or, him separating from Baby Yoda Grogu and then getting back with him. So I guess are we putting too much, like, in this day and age now, you have to like be all invested in Star Wars or you're lost. Is that fair to say?
Which is the same way with Marvel these days too. Yeah, you've got to be in or you're not going to follow it.
Yeah, you're lost. Courtney, what do you think? Is it odd a little bit that they didn't do a little bit? This is not a complaint. It's more just an observation. But should they have done a little bit of a job setting up that reunion for audiences, or does it matter? Those who know, and whatever. What do you think?
I think we're getting to a point where there's going to be a little bit of a separation from the audiences that are going to stay loyal and watch everything that comes out and the audiences that are casual. And I think this was maybe where that fork in the road starts to really be developed. I'd be really curious to see how the choice to not show some of that background and the time past impacts, like Ahsoka, for example, that show that's coming out. Is that going to be continuing down the same path where you really have to kind of know what's going on to have a good understanding of the show? Or are they going to create it to be more surface level to where anyone in, wherever you're at with your Star Wars fandom or not is going to be able to jump in and enjoy it? I think it was an interesting choice. I wouldn't say it was a bad choice, because it almost pays off those of you, like those of us who watch everything.
Right.
So it's a little bit of fan service in that way and fan like acknowledgement. But from a choice of distribution, the business side of things, I'm very surprised they played it that way.
Yeah, it's interesting, and like the way it's all tied in now to animation. And I'm not an avid animation watcher. I like a lot of the animated stuff. I like it more just for the lore. I like knowing what's going on, and now it's more important than ever, because I even had to Google like the well,
the Purgle,
what's it called again?
The Purgle.
It's in Rebels, right? Isn't that where that's from?
Yeah, that's where Ezra Bridger disappeared off with Thrawn.
Well, and I saw that. I go, I know that's something I've seen. What the hell is that? And I Googled it, and I go, okay. And at least I knew to do that, right? Because it could have just been a pretty visual. And if you're a casual watcher, it just is the baby Yoda Grogu just checking things out, and just the celestial, thing going along through, and during going through warp speed or what have you, hyperspace. Thank you. We get franchises vernacular confused here. But one thing I noticed too, just a side note, is when Mando had Grogu and he's sitting there with him, and he mentions he's showing him how to fly, which I love all the prequel era stuff that's working in this, by the way. But he says, and you got to check your fuel here. Like, fuel had never been mentioned in any Star Wars ever, to my knowledge.
Solo.
Until The Last Jedi. Oh no, Solo first, right?
It was Solo, because the whole thing was about hypermatter.
You're right. To give Solo credit, that came out before The Last Jedi. No, it didn't. It came out afterwards. It came out after. So it was The Last Jedi, because remember, there's a lot of people that didn't think that Solo did well at the box office because of the backlash of The Last Jedi.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so The Last Jedi. Regardless, but it was those films. I thought that was kind of an interesting touch. But that's one thing that really jumped out at me, is just how invested you have to be in all this stuff. But in terms of just, Brian, did you feel like this was a fulfilling episode? And by the way, just a side note, guys, I have talked to people that have seen the second episode. They didn't give me any spoilers or details, but what they did say is like, dude, just wait. They set this up nicely, and it slam dunks in the next episode. There's
a piece where these different franchises, Marvel included, and Ant-Man was a mess. There's pieces of it that are I'm doing. There's a reason I'm doing this, but Ant-Man was a mess. But
your review was great on.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By the way, click the channel. You can listen to my review.
Yeah, subscribe here.
Subscribe. But Marvel has earned my trust enough over the years to know that there have been stinkers that come out, but the overall story does tie together, and there is a point to a lot of, and in 3 movies on down the line, it'll come back to, oh, that's why. So there's a point where they've earned my trust. Same thing with Star Wars. There's massive gaps, and there's chunks of this episode that were exposition, massive exposition. They're letting you know the new state of the world without telling you how things got to where they are. Navarro has suddenly turned into this thriving metropolis.
Yeah.
And that, so it's been years on down the road. You've got Bo-Katan, Bro-Katan. You got Bo-Katan is sitting there on a throne, alone. Broken. And there's a really brief scene of exposition that really felt like the only reason he went there was for the exposition of it. So it was an awkward episode in that there's been so much time passed that they can't pick up where things were. So it was an odd piece on that. There's a piece where I'm wondering if they're going to do any flashbacks. I kind of hope they don't, but they might.
Well, but does Star Wars have that issue anyway? I mean, have we ever seen a timestamp in a Star Wars live action or anywhere?
I don't think so. And I was thinking about that earlier. Yeah,
because Empire Strikes Back has quite a bit of a jump.
Right.
Something like The Last Jedi that picks up literally right when the last one picked up. That's a short film on a timeline wise, right? But if you look
Return of the Jedi was a significant time jump after Empire. We just don't know exactly how much.
This is true.
But
and obviously there's a big change in the physical appearance and the demeanor of Luke Skywalker, obviously much more Jedi-esque. Yes. And then Yoda had, the years had taken a toll on Yoda on that film.
Dealing with Luke for years had taken a toll.
Yep. But I mean,
seagulls.
Because one of the things I have written here, and Courtney, I'm going to throw this at you, is the online reaction, and I follow this stuff almost. And of course, like most things Star Wars, the online fans, especially on Twitter and Facebook, are complaining about stuff because that's what they do. And this episode was only 37 minutes. Are we getting to a point where can fans accept the fact that this is a television series and not everything is it's gonna be a much more of a slow burn, right? Like this is a setup. Do you feel like that it accomplished that though, Courtney? I do personally. What do you think? That I feel like it gave us enough for the next episode as a launching pad. I don't feel like it was minimal. I think it was kind of perfect in a lot of ways. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, they did have to set things up. They did want to make the jump into this now future time period of whatever it is. I think there was a lot that they're trying to accomplish, and I think they did it by just kind of ripping off the Band-Aid. And unfortunately, that is the best way to do it when you do have a lot of fans that are going to, cry about anything and everything you do. Like, people would be upset if they showed a bunch of like quick time jumps or whatever. Like, people would be upset regardless. So I think from the aspect of the story, they did the right thing, because now we'll have one cohesive story probably in one time frame versus having any flashbacks or having to jump through certain time cuts, etc. So I don't think it was bad, but
yeah, I thought
Filoni has said that we're still at the beginning of a very, very long story arc. So there's a piece where if you look at the lifespan of Grogu, the Mandalorian story could be his story and could continue 800 years into the future. So there's a huge piece in here where the time jumps may become very big, And we don't know yet, so we're kind of curious.
And he'll probably talk at some point as well.
Whoa.
And there's been some talk on today.
He better have James Earl Jones's voice. I swear to flipping tacos. That better be a thing.
But I heard this mentioned earlier today by a few people that let's just make sure we don't wear out the cuteness of Grogu, because he is adorable. He's right here with me. Hi. And there could be a threat to that. I agree. I don't think we're anywhere near it yet, but let's not overplay it. But I think seeing his character really have an arc as well, even more so than we have, I think is paramount, because he can't just be the cutesy little baby Yoda forever.
Right. Well,
it'll wear itself
thin. Ahsoka started as the goofy, cutesy little preteen
sidekick,
and his sidekick, who's there to make little snippy comments back at Anakin, and to be fun to bring the kids and to bring the younger generation into the story, and grew into one of the most powerful characters in the universe.
That's right.
We get to see the growth. So if they're able to work that with Grogu, man, I'm on board.
I am too, which kind of sets up a next question here, is just sort of expectations for not just the season, but Disney Plus as a whole. And I'm going to combine a couple of things here too. Is that did anybody else have whiplash going from Andor back to this in terms of the style and tone? Because to me, I was like, oh, we're back to like normal Star Wars. That's kind of how I felt about it.
We're back to somewhat cartoony.
Yeah, and I ultimately loved Andor, and I still do, and I hope that they continue that story that leads right up to Rogue One. I'm sure they will.
Andor is interesting. They're not doing a lot of fan service callbacks in Andor, but they're definitely doing it in Mandalorian. The fact that he's flying the Naboo starfighter and actually did these little tray spinning, that's a good trick. He actually did that in a dogfight. I'm like, oh, you just okay. There's a lot of there's a lot of prequel aesthetic and things in this too, which good. It needs to have that. Yes, you're right. There is a difference.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to call out the fact that when the pirates show up behind him right before the dogfight happens, the pirate says "Avast," and I lost it. Like, I was laughing so hard because I just wasn't expecting that. Like, I was not expecting them to really lean into the piratiness of things. Yeah. And I'm a diehard Pirates of the Caribbean franchise devotee, and so like I was rolling. I was laughing so hard. It was such great.
I like that scene a lot.
They showed the captain on the bridge, and he looks like a seaweed version of Davy Jones. Are you kidding me?
I
doing that.
Yeah, no, I thought it was cool. It worked for me, and I like how there's
I loved it.
And I like that there's a history, obviously, with Mando and him.
It's a big enough universe; it can be absurd. I'm okay with it. Bring it on.
Of course, it's Star Wars. Let's just not lose sight of that. I'm not subscribing to it's got to be cartoon kitty BS thing, because I think the Phantom Menace went too far with that, and then Return of the Jedi in the special editions was the precursor to the Phantom Menace. But certainly the Andor. The style of Andor is pertinent to that faction of the universe and that time capsule. But I bet you, by the way, that it ramps up a little bit in the next season and kind of makes that bridge between season 1, season 2, Rogue One, which backs right up to A New Hope, right? I think we'll see a little bit of a tone on that. But I am, the thing about this that gives me a lot of hope. And by the way, in terms of a time jump, I thought that little boy at the beginning was actually going to be Mando. And then
I thought it was a flashback.
That's what I thought so too. I thought it was.
Turns out it's Jimmy Kimmel's nephew. It's his brother's son. Same last name. He's a Kimmel. He looks like him. Yeah. I saw that interview on Jimmy Kimmel. That was fun to see. But I thought that was, of course, the giant alligator comes out. Somebody made a joke about that earlier. That must have been set in Florida somewhere. Weird. Oh, that sequence was awesome.
It was messy for a bunch of people that live and breathe combat. It was messy.
That's what I was thinking.
Scattered. It was, what is going on? There's a bunch of weird explosions, and people keep running into the worst possible place to be. Get out of the water. You're fine. Just get out of the water.
It's Star Wars.
And it sits there and roars. What I didn't
get. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That was my commentary. Woof.
Well, I was like, I don't know. I remember watching it and I was just sitting there like, I'm sorry, you live in this area now. You obviously know enough about this creature to sense when he's coming, but yet you still look like a chaotic mess trying to fight it. I'm so confused. Like you've
never seen it before. Yeah.
Well, obviously it caught them all off guard, and they were there for their swearing in, so to speak, ceremony and all that stuff. I do, by the way, love all the the little adventures, like bringing the droid back, and he's all, and then of course, come on.
How are you guys
Bubba
feeling
Freak.
about the droid storyline? Where do you think that's going?
I don't know. For me, I like that it showed the Sith evil original program of it.
Yeah.
There was some rise of Skywalker, said Star Killer. It's how funny is that?
Yeah.
Throwbacks. Obviously, that scene with
Mhm.
3PO becomes, he's got his red eyes and he's speaking in Sith tongue.
Yeah.
But let's address not the 800-pound gorilla in the room, but the 5-pound cute guy that works on droids.
Oh my
So
gosh.
Babu Frick's people are now the droid masters.
I
Yeah.
love it because I love the sequel trilogy and
Yeah.
but that character is so amazing, and the fact that
So
Grogu's
funny.
trying to hug him, and then Carl Weathers, he's like he says you should get a new droid, all that stuff. It's
Like
funny
translating through
Yeah.
the little thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
funny.
The high administrator is down there sticking
Yeah.
his nose through the rabbit hole. I love it.
It's so great. And by the way, does anybody else every time they say Creed and then you got Carl Weathers there? Did anybody do a double take?
Right.
Anybody? No. Anyway.
No.
But no. But as far as the droid thing goes, whatever, man. Let's see where the second episode is. For me, I thought it was very fulfilling. It was great to have it back.
Mhm.
It felt like it had the budget has increased. I mean, even Grogu seemed a little bit more agile, and something was different. Like just that you can tell they polished some stuff, and I just think it's like tonally just perfect Star Wars. I really, really love it, and I'm excited for the next episode. It's really hard to judge one episode in a season, in a series, like because it all ties in together. Because if you didn't like it, you might like it after episode 2 and 3, right?
Mhm.
But if you loved it, you may not like it because you may not like where it goes. It goes both ways. But I think that people need to calm down on that online and quit being so judgmental about one episode. Don't ride the highs and lows. We're telling a story here. It'll go to the next episode. Everybody's so impatient and they want so much in one, and we just haven't learned our lesson that. But
it's better than Boba Fett. I'm good with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, it's been since December 18th, 2020, when we last had an episode of The Mandalorian. So let's just be grateful it's back.
God, you're right, because it's because all that other stuff is tied into Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Wow.
That is not okay.
Courtney, are they going to do another season of Boba Fett, or is it just going to just tie into Mando, or what do you think they're going to do with that?
I have not seen. I am going to look it up because now I am curious. I don't know. I mean, I know Bad Batch is continuing, mostly because my sister continues to work on it, so that I know. But I don't know. Honestly, as much as I loved, again, the fan service that Boba Fett was, I think it missed the mark for me some, just with how excited everybody was for it. And then I feel like it established some storylines for other series, other parts of the universe, and it didn't really do any service for the character of Boba Fett. Do you guys disagree or agree with that statement?
I respectfully disagree with that, and that's okay because that's a very common opinion by just like yourself, a million people's.
He just called your opinion common.
Well, I guess so.
Well,
it doesn't look like it's been renewed.
Common.
That's right. I don't see anything in the trades, at least, that shows that it has been picked up for a second season.
Okay. I'm okay with it. I think it was it tried to be too flashy. I've got a lot of issues with it, and that's for, I guess, a different episode. But there was stuff that didn't need to happen when you're talking about somebody who's supposed to be a warrior and supposed to be tactically intelligent and trained and everything else. Watching just a lot of stupid things that were happening just to have explosions is frustrating. So it was fun watching it.
Oh yeah.
Are you talking about Boba Fett?
Yeah, talking about Boba Fett.
Fun.
Well, see, what I was going to say, my mic dropped for a second. That damn Dallas storm is creeping into Houston. Is that I feel like it. First of all, the character was not established very well in the original trilogy, anyway, and he died a very kind of lame death. Boba Fett, where and all that, Lando.
There are a bunch of books, however.
There are, and of course, most of that stuff's not canon now, as I understand it. But regardless, I think it showed a backstory that was fascinating. I love the Tuscan stuff. I love when he's on the peyote and that very Young Guns esque desert scene. And I don't know, there's all sorts of really cool stuff in that show that I thought did service to the character. And I personally loved it. And I don't have a problem with it being tied into Mandalorian because it was introduced in Mandalorian in the first place, right? It's all intertwined, especially
I just
those
feel
two.
like and the reason that I say like it's been December 18th, 2020 since we last got a Mandalorian episode, like Boba Fett felt like it was the Mandalorian, so much so that like I say that to people, and like my fiance said it to me last night, we were watching, I was like, that's not real, like that's fake. But that's how much of Boba Fett was Mandalorian centered. So that's where that thought comes from. I will say I'm curious to see if they do, renew it, because Tamura Morrison, I mean, he's getting older, like he's up there. So if they're going to, they would need to renew it sooner rather than later, especially, to ensure, because he's such an iconic part of that character. Like there's no way you're going to find somebody else to do it.
Hey guys, I got tornado sirens going on here. I'm going to go look up out the window.
Yeah, look out the window.
Okay, go look out the window.
That'll be our cue to wrap, because you guys are in Dallas, and check that out real quick, and let's do some plugs and get the heck out of here anyway. So,
well, if you guys got any final thoughts or predictions, I'd love to hear those too. I'll keep listening.
Okay, cool. Yeah, check on that. So you guys are listening to our episode here. This is how much we love you guys. We want to get content out. Bryan and Courtney are in Dallas, Texas. They're like massive tornado watch. Bryan's got sirens going off around his studio right now. So, so Courtney, let's do this. Let's get this wrapped and get out of here. We just obviously want to get a show up on this episode. Fair to say, did you like this episode? Are you excited for the next episode? Excited for the rest of the season? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Yeah, I liked the episode. I didn't love it, but I liked it. And I'm excited to see where it goes. But I think as any TV show, any series, we know there's going to be exposition. They've got to set it up somehow. And that usually happens in the first episode. So I'm excited to see what happens for sure.
Absolutely. And I know that we all love Star Wars, and I tell you, it's one heck of a time to be alive, because I tell you, this content that we're getting is fabulous. And whether you like it or hate it, or the Disney era is not for you, or the prequel era wasn't for you, whatever, it's okay. That's fine. It's all subjective. But I will say this, that I've been a fan since I was a little boy, and I'm old, and I'm not going to age myself here. I'm 47. And I've never been happier with Star Wars as a whole, as a franchise. And I saw The Empire Strikes Back the day it came out in the theater. I saw the original Star Wars film when it was re-released in 1980. I saw the prequels. I saw the special editions, all the sequel trilogy. I mean, like, I am a diehard fan, and I freaking love this era of Star Wars. Bryan, to wrap this up, are you excited? Did you like the episode? Fine. You're excited for episode 2. You're excited for the rest of the season, right? No,
I'm excited for the rest of the season. I'm curious to see where the seaweed Davy Jones pirate captain is going. Kind of digging that. Really looking forward to them, because he's explaining that, we're going to a moon of Mandalore in the Mandalore system. That was very blatant exposition. So now I'm curious how much Mandalore we're going to get to see. We know from the trailers we're going to get to see broken dome cities. So I really do want to see some of this. What they've been fleshing out story-wise is fantastic. I love the evolution, because Grogu has definitely, like, he's super secure with Mando. He's super secure with him. Him going from his little bubble behind to crawling up in Mando's arms, and Mando's asleep, but he just puts his hand over him. Like that entire interaction, that entire thing. Yeah. I'm like, no, this is. Yep, he's happy with Dad. I like it.
And you know that originally the Obi-Wan show, as I understand it, Courtney, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but as I understand it, it was supposed to be Luke as a little, as the adventures of Obi-Wan and Luke, and then that was hitting a little too close to home with Mando and Grogu, the father-son thing. And I think that was sort of the catalyst for them readjusting and then looking at Leia as an alternative, and then going back and looking to make sure that they could do it with the continuity, which I will die on the hill that they did. They did not break canon at all. Trust me. In fact, they enhanced it. But so I, as a parent, the whole, and obviously you don't have to be a parent to love this or appreciate it at all. I'm just saying, for me, that the Obi-Wan Leia stuff, the Mando Grogu stuff, like, that to me is so Star Wars. It's like the heart, the soul of it. And that's what I thought was missing with Andor, but Andor didn't need that. Andor is amazing in its own right, and that's why I love this era of Star Wars. It's like you zoom out and look at 20,000 feet. We're getting all these different styles for like different facets of our personality and for different viewers. But anyway, that's my deal. All right, Courtney, let's get out of here, and you guys be safe. So plug away. Where can we find just you on social media and anything you want to plug? Okay, I think we lost her. That's okay.
We lost her.
Yeah, we lost her.
Yeah, she just said that she's got sirens in her territory as well. So we got to, we'll check things out. We're going to unplug computers before things go nuts. So I am Bryan Chatelain. I'm a friendly neighborhood photographer. You can find me on Instagram at ChatelainPhoto. Drop a line and say hi. I'll try to chat back at you.
And we are at Friends from Work. Let's chat all over the internet, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, Stitcher, not Google Play yet.
All over the internet.
All over, and obviously on YouTube. I'm Rick Shue. We love Star Wars. Thank you guys for listening so much. And Bryan, Courtney, be safe. DFW, be safe. Everybody be safe. All right. We love you guys.
Get down.